Introduction. The Bobo Doll Experiment. The Bobo Doll Experiment, conducted by psychologist Albert Bandura in 1961, became a landmark study that revolutionized our understanding of the influence of social factors on children's behavior. Bandura designed the experiment to examine how strongly social learning affects children, specifically whether a child would imitate aggressive actions observed in adults. At that time, psychology was still seeking to understand how children's reactions to violence and aggression are formed. It was previously believed that children copied behavior based solely on biological instincts and innate tendencies. However, Bandura, drawing inspiration from the work of social learning theorists, hypothesized that children could adopt behavior by observing adults without direct reinforcement or encouragement for their actions. The goal of the study was not only to observe how children would reproduce aggressive behavior, but also to explore how the presence of rewards or punishments for adult models influenced whether children would repeat these aggressive actions. This task introduced a new perspective to psychology regarding the dynamics of social adaptation and behavior formation, where external examples, such as the actions of parents, educators, and the influence of cultural and social norms, play just as significant a role as biological heritage. This experiment marked a breakthrough impacting not only psychology but also sociology, pedagogy, and even the philosophy of education, deepening our understanding of how we teach, and importantly, how we teach violence. Method: investigating aggressive behavior through observation. For the experiment, Bandura and his colleagues used a group of 72 preschool-aged children, consisting of 36 boys and 36 girls. The experiment was carefully designed to explore how different models of adult behavior could influence children's reactions and behavior. The children were divided into 3 groups, each of which was exposed to different observational conditions. Aggressive model. In this group, the children observed an adult who demonstrated aggressive behavior toward a large inflatable Bobo doll. The adult actively hit, kicked, and verbally abused the doll, displaying other forms of violence. This situation prompted the children to record and reproduce the actions they observed, influenced by vivid models of aggression. Non-aggressive model. In this group, the children witnessed an adult calmly playing with other toys, without displaying any aggression toward the Bobo doll. This context provided the children with an alternative behavioral example, demonstrating that it is possible to interact peacefully with toys and the world without resorting to violence. Control group. The children in this group did not observe any adult behavior and had no interaction with the Bobo doll. These participants served as a blank, control benchmark, allowing the researchers to assess the behavior they would exhibit in the absence of an external example. This structure of the study enabled Bandura and his colleagues to investigate how the difference in adult behavior models, aggressive and non-aggressive, influenced children. It was the first experiment where aggression was considered not as an innate instinct, but as a form of social learning acquired through observation of those around us. Procedure: studying children's behavior in a playful setting. After the children had observed the actions of adult models, they were transferred to a playroom filled with various toys, including the Bobo doll. This space was carefully arranged to avoid distracting the children from the main task, while still providing them with an opportunity to express themselves in a comfortable and familiar environment. In the playroom, the children were free to interact with the toys as they saw fit. An important aspect of the experiment was that the researchers closely observed how the children behaved with the Bobo doll. Children who had been exposed to the aggressive model were expected to display aggressive actions, such as hitting or kicking the doll, imitating the behavior they had witnessed. Those who had seen the non-aggressive model were more likely to demonstrate less aggressive or even peaceful interactions with the toys. The children in the control group, who had not been exposed to any adult behavior, also interacted with the Bobo doll, and their actions helped the researchers assess what behavior would emerge in the absence of external models. The researchers recorded all types of interactions, not only physical violence or aggression, but also verbal behavior, such as words or phrases the children used when interacting with the doll. This allowed the scientists to observe not only the direct imitation of aggression, but also how the social environment and adult interaction styles influence the development of children's verbal and emotional patterns. This observation enabled Bandura and his team to gather data demonstrating how strongly children could adopt not only external behaviors, but also emotional attitudes related to aggression, and how much this depended on the example they had been shown. Results: the impact of social learning on children's behavior. The results of the Bobo Doll experiment provided important insights into social learning and its role in shaping aggressive behavior in children. Imitation of aggressive behavior. Children who observed an adult demonstrating aggression were highly likely to reproduce aggressive actions. This was evident not only in physical aggression, such as hitting and kicking the Bobo doll, but also in verbal violence. Children imitated phrases and expressions used by the adult. This demonstrated that aggression can be learned not only through visual observation of actions, but also through mimicking speech, significantly broadening our understanding of how social learning influences children's cognitive development. Gender differences. It is worth noting that both boys and girls repeated the aggressive behavior they had observed, but certain differences emerged. Boys tended to display more physical aggression, hitting, kicking, and throwing toys, which may be linked to social stereotypes associating aggression with masculinity. Girls, on the other hand, were more likely to exhibit verbal aggression, expressing dissatisfaction or using phrases similar to those used by the adult. These findings support the idea that social behavior, including aggression, is shaped by cultural expectations and gender roles embedded within society. Rewards and punishments. In a follow-up study, Bandura introduced rewards and punishments for the children's aggressive behavior. However, this did not lead to significant changes in the level of aggression imitation. Notably, even with rewards or punishments in place, the children continued to actively reproduce the behavior they had observed. This underscores the key role of the observation process itself. Social imitation and the presence of an aggressive role model became the primary factors influencing the children's actions. Despite attempts to manipulate behavior through external stimuli, observation of the adult remained the strongest driver of aggressive behavior. These findings further confirm the power of social learning as a mechanism for shaping behavior, which can significantly influence children's personal and social norms, particularly at an early age. Consequences: the impact on the understanding of social learning and behavior. The Bobo Doll experiment had a profound impact on the development of social learning theory and significantly expanded our understanding of how social factors influence children's behavior. This research highlighted the importance of observation and imitation as the primary mechanisms of behavior formation, including aggression, which, in turn, opened up new avenues for exploring the effects of external influences on children's psychological development. One of the key conclusions of the experiment was the realization that children learn and repeat behaviors by observing adults, whether aggressive or peaceful. This process of imitation is unconscious and selfless. Children do not need external stimulation, rewards, or punishments to reproduce what they have seen. As a result, behavioral models such as aggression become part of the children's repertoire when they are frequently exposed to them. The study also emphasized the importance of adults becoming conscious role models for children. Even if aggressive actions by adults are not directly rewarded, their visibility in the social environment, including in media, influences children's responses. The Bobo doll is a metaphor for a broader phenomenon where, for example, films, television, video games, and other forms of media serve as powerful sources of aggressive behavior patterns. Moreover, the social environment in which a child grows up plays an equally crucial role. Listening to aggressive conversations, witnessing conflicts or violence in the family or society teaches children to perceive aggression as acceptable behavior. Therefore, this study became an important signal for educators, psychologists, and parents about the need to monitor the influence of the surrounding environment and media content on children, as well as to raise awareness of the potential consequences of negative social models. The Bobo Doll experiment not only deepened theoretical knowledge of social learning, but also became a significant milestone in educational practices and media pedagogy. It demonstrated that the awareness of adult role models, responsibility for their behavior must be the foundation for fostering healthy, nonviolent behaviors in future generations. Ethical issues. Responsibility to participants and the consequences of aggression exposure. The Bobo Doll Experiment, despite its significance to science, raised serious ethical concerns regarding its impact on participants, especially the children who were exposed to aggressive behavior models. The influence of violence, even under experimental conditions, on a child's psyche is an issue that today requires special attention and adherence to strict moral standards. The primary ethical concern was that the children were exposed to aggressive behavior, which could have affected their emotional and mental well-being. These aggression models, which they observed, could have been perceived as normative behavior, particularly since children are at a developmental stage where they are highly susceptible to external examples. Thus, the potential risk of developing aggressive patterns in the future was one of the central ethical issues. An additional problem was the lack of explicit consent from the children themselves. This raises difficulties in understanding whether the children were fully aware of what was happening and whether they understood the consequences of their actions. This also extends to the awareness of parents or guardians regarding what they were allowing the participants to be exposed to in terms of behavior. Today's ethical standards in psychological research are much stricter. Modern studies require mandatory informed consent from both participants and their parents or legal guardians. This consent must be obtained with full awareness of the potential risks, including the possible impact on mental health. Furthermore, modern research follows the principle of do no harm. Each participant must be protected from any harm that may result from the experiment. In the case of Bandura's experiment, the exposure to aggression for children was minimized in subsequent studies, in line with these principles. Research now also ensures strict control, allowing participants to withdraw from the study immediately if they experience any discomfort. Therefore, while the Bobo Doll experiment provided important data for psychology, it also led to a rethinking of ethical standards in scientific research and highlights the importance of balancing scientific inquiry with a responsible approach to participant well-being. Conclusion: the impact of the Bobo Doll experiment on psychology and society. The Bobo Doll experiment remains one of the most significant and foundational studies in psychology, greatly influencing our understanding of the role of social learning in the formation of human behavior. The results of this study demonstrated that children not only learn behavior through personal experience, but also by observing adults and the people around them. This discovery significantly changed our perception of how aggression and other forms of behavior can be acquired and repeated by children, simply by watching the actions of adults. A key conclusion is that behavior, including aggression, can be learned through mere observation, and that children tend to imitate both positive and negative models. The Bobo Doll experiment vividly illustrated the importance of positive role models in a child's life, as well as the responsibility of adults for the behavior models they demonstrate. This study also highlighted the importance of a responsible approach to how aggression is portrayed in the media. In the context of globalization and the widespread dissemination of information via television, movies, the internet, and video games, media depictions of violence can influence children's perceptions and their attitudes toward aggressive actions. The experiment became a crucial signal that emphasizes the need for positive representations of behavior and the reduction of violence in public and media spaces. Thus, the lesson we can draw from the Bobo Doll experiment is the necessity of creating a healthy, positively oriented social environment in which children can grow and model constructive and peaceful behavior. The responsibility for shaping these models lies with society, and each of us has a role to play in determining the values and behaviors that will dominate future generations.